Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video we're going to be doing some Valentine's nail art. I absolutely love Valentine's Day for nails because I just love getting out all the reds, the pinks, the hearts, the roses, so it's one of my favourite times of the year for nails. Now for today's video, the base colour for our four designs is going to be the beautiful tea rose. I really wanted the base to be a nice soft nude colour, and what I love the most about tea rose as well is it's a very opaque nude as well, so it's great for doing things like French, and it's also a brilliant base for any kind of nail art. And it really made the reds in this set that we're going to be doing pop. So I've applied my first coat of tea rose, keeping my first coat quite thin, and I'm then going to cure that for 30 seconds and come in and apply the second coat of colour. This colour is a really lovely creamy consistency, so like I said, it's very easy to get a nice highly pigmented even coverage. Once I've popped that in to cure for 30 seconds, I'm going to come over the top of this with the No Wipe matte top coat. I wanted to matte top coat this nail for two reasons. So one of the reasons is because I want the part of this nail that's going to be the tea rose to be matte anyway. And then I also want to apply some foils at the tip of the nail. So I want to make sure those foils aren't going to cover too much of the rest of the nail. So by popping down your matte top coat first of all, it makes it a lot easier for when you're applying foils and you only want them in a certain area. Now the next colour that I'm going to be using in this set of nails is the beautiful ruby red. Now ruby red is such a beautiful classic bright red, and I feel that that's a must have in any nail tech's kit. So if you are looking for a red, I would highly recommend ruby red. Now for my nail art, I'm also going to be using the stripe liner brush and the new Kiki London palette. I'm really loving this. They do come in a variety of colours, but I do especially love this one. Now I've popped a small amount of ruby red down onto my palette, and I'm really running my stripe liner brush through that gel polish so that it loads my brush, but that gel polish is really getting through the bristles without there being too much product on my brush. Then we're simply creating a heart tip. Now realistically this isn't too tricky to do, but I was just struggling making sure that both sides of my heart were as symmetrical as possible. This design does work best on pointed almond nails or stilettos in my opinion, so bear that in mind if you're wanting to recreate the design. But all we're doing is creating that top part of the heart. Now I started off by doing this nice and thin just so I could get it nice and neat, and then I'm just going to thicken up those lines a little bit with my stripe liner brush before coming in and filling in with my bottle brush. I find doing it this way a little bit easier because if you only put a thin line down and then need to come in with your bottle brush, it can be a little bit tricky to keep it nice and neat. So I always thicken up first of all with my stripe liner brush, and as you can see I'm coming backwards and forwards, just making this as neat and as crisp as I can, and also trying to get both sides of that heart symmetrical. Then once I'm happy with the edge of my heart, I'm simply going to fill this in using the bottle brush. Now as you can see, ruby red is super pigmented, so I only felt as though I needed one coat of this. We are also going to be coming over the top with foils as well, but even if you wasn't, one coat is enough. Again, I'm coming back in with that stripe liner brush just to perfect the very edge of my heart, and then once I am finally happy with how that looks, I'm going to pop it in to cure. And as you can see, the ruby red pops beautifully against the tea rose. I feel as though these two colours pair together absolutely beautifully. Now because we're going to be applying foils, I'm always going to be using my trusty Kiki London foil gel, and for the foils today we're going to start off with box 4, which is the metallic colours, and I'm going to begin by using this beautiful red. I do use these again further along in the video. Whenever I'm applying my foils, you'll know that I use the Kiki London Silicone Tool because I feel as though it really helps with application. So now we've got the ruby red cured, I've popped some of the foil gel down onto my palette, and I'm simply going to go over the heart. We only really want these foils on the red heart, so I'm trying it my best anyway to get that foil gel as neat as what I've got my heart. So that's why I'm starting off with the stripe liner brush, coming around the edges of the heart and doing exactly the same as before and thickening up the line before I come in with the bottle brush. Now obviously it's a lot easier when you're applying the foil gel because you've already done all of the hard work and got the nice shape with your red. So I'm just going to apply a thin amount of this, but I am making sure that it's covered that heart completely. I see that there was a slight gap here, like a little area where the foil gel hadn't hit. So I just filled that in using my stripe liner brush and made sure the application was nice and even. Then we're going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds, and I'm going to take that beautiful metallic red foil and we're going to give this a good rub over the heart. Now, one of the things I love about the metallic foils is they are the easiest foils to apply. They apply it so simple. Just give them a good rub, and as you can see, it's transferred absolutely effortless. Another thing about them is because they're a plain foil with no pattern, if you do have any areas that are missed, you can come back in again with your foil and press it down. Now, unfortunately, we did get a little bit of foil transfer on the tea rose, so I've taken a little bit of alcohol on a pad and I'm just cleansing that off. You can get alcohol pads, which I usually use on the Kiki London website, but I had run out, so I just used a little bit of alcohol on a kitchen towel just to clean that off. And then you can see it's come off nice and easily, and you're left with just your foils on your heart. Now we do need to seal that foil in, so I'm going to be using the no wipe top coat for this. And again, I'm going to pop this down on my palette because I don't want to completely top coat the nail. I only want to top coat our foiled heart because I loved how the tea rose looked matte. I felt as though it left a really beautiful effect having the glossy heart tip and then that matte base, and it gave off, the foils on the heart gave off this really beautiful embossed effect. So I loved how this turned out, but if you didn't want to do it this way, you could completely top coat the entire nail and have a completely glossy nail, which would still look really pretty. I'm being really careful that I'm only applying that top coat to the heart, and once I'm happy with that, we're going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds. And I absolutely loved how this now turned out. I thought it looked so simple but so pretty, and because it's fairly easy to do, it's a very salon friendly design. You could easily do that on all nails or have it as an accent nail and it be quite quick and simple to do, which is what you want for a lot of salon designs. Now let's move on to our second design. So I have already done 2 coats of tea rose, curing each of those for 30 seconds. And now I'm coming in and applying my foil gel to the entire nail. Then I'm going to be applying the same metallic foils, but this time we're going to be using this beautiful matte gold. And I just want to apply this foil around one side on the cuticle area and the opposite side on the tip. But I don't want it to be too full coverage. I want that broken, shattered effect. So I'm very lightly tapping this foil on. The Kiki London foil gel has such a high tack that it does really grab hold of your foils. So when you are wanting this shattered, broken effect, you need to use a super light touch. And I love doing these kind of designs where you've just got something like nail art around the edges and it's framing that center area. I'm then going to come over the top of this with a layer of the classic top coat. Now, when I say classic top coat, this is like your top coat that leaves a tacky finish, so it does need to wipe off. It's not a no wipe top coat, if that makes sense. Now I haven't popped that into cure yet because I want to stick down some of these little heart sequins. You can pick these up at most nail art places. I've had them in my kit for ages, so I'm not sure where I got them from, but they are just really thin little gold glitter hearts, and I'm setting them down into the wet top coat. Now when you're doing gel polish nails, it can be tricky to encapsulate things like this, so that's why I've chose to set them down in the wet top coat, just because then you can see that I'm able to press them down into that top coat a little bit, and look, they are barely rising above that layer of top coat. Just by pressing them in, you're going to get a nice firm application of the glitter, and it's also going to stop the nail feeling bumpy. Another thing that really helps when encapsulating any kind of glitters in gel polish is the no wipe rubber top coat. It's that slightly bit thicker than your regular no wipe top coat, so it smooths everything out and leaves you with that layer of that really smooth layer, if that makes sense. And as you can see here, there you cannot tell that there's a bump from those glitters. It's just smoothed and evened everything out. It's my go-to top coat for when we're doing anything with nail art, which you would know if you watch the Kiki London channel. So I've cured that for 60 seconds and that is this design finished. I also do really love the high shine finish you get from the no wipe rubber top coat as well. On to our third design. Again, I've done my 2 coats of tea rose and I'm coming in with a thin layer of the foil gel. But this time for our foils, we're going to be using the beautiful floral print foils. So like I said at the start, I love Valentine's Day. I love all the hearts and roses. And I noticed on one of these foils, you have a beautiful red rose. So that's what we're going to be using in this design. There are a couple of different roses on this particular foil, and I think there's some pink ones on one of the other foils as well, but I wanted this really large classic red rose as it's just very Valentine's Day. So I've cut it out, and I've cut it out so I've got enough foil left over to hold on to. If you just cut the rose out, it can be a little bit tricky to have something to grab onto, so always leave yourself a little bit of excess foil that you can hold on to. Then I've positioned my rose where I want it to be on the nail, and I'm just doing my best to work out any creases or any bubbles that might be on that foil. So I'm using the slanted edge of the silicone tool for this because it's that little bit firmer. You can use it to apply a little bit of pressure and really get out any of those creases. Don't worry too much if your foil does crease. You do, when it comes to top coating, you minimize the effect that you get off from any creases that are left. But of course, it's always best to try and get any of those creases out. Once I've given that foil a good rub, I'm going to peel it back, and as you can see, that rose has transferred absolutely beautiful. One of the things I love about the Kiki London foils is they're so vibrant. So even over nude or coloured or even certain darker bases, you can really, the colours from the foils still really pop. Now I want it to come around the edge of the rose and the corner of the nail with the gold metallic foil like we did on the previous nail. So down in the cuticle area where we'd applied that previous foil, it had lost a lot of the tack from the foil gel, so this particular part of the foil wasn't adhering. So I do just come in with another tiny amount just so I can really frame around that rose with some of the gold foil, just because otherwise it kind of looked a little bit too much like the rose was just stuck in the center of the nail or the center of the cuticle area. I felt as though that gold framing it really finished off the design. Now I'm going to come in and seal everything in again using my no wipe or rubber top coat. I do prefer sealing the foils in with the rubber top coat just because I feel as though it helps with their durability when you are wearing the set of nails. So I'm just coming over that, and like I said, this helps a lot with any creases you get in your foils as well, because once you come in and apply your top coat, it just minimizes. You can't even see now that there was a crease in that foil. It just really completes the look. So I've cured that for 60 seconds and we're now ready to move on to the fourth and final design. So if I was doing this set as a full set on myself or a client, I usually would do the little finger and the thumbnail the same. So that's why I only ever usually include 4 designs. So if you did want to recreate this set and you're kind of wondering, what do I do on the thumbnail? I would just do this nail again, if that makes sense. So on this now, I've done my 2 coats of tea rose and I've also done a layer of the no wipe matte top coat, and then we're going to do a French using the ruby red. So when I do my French, I like to come straight across the nail, roughly how far down I want my tip to be. I do a straight line across and then I come in with these 2 lines at the side to make the side walls of the French tip, and then I just meet them in the middle and then round it off. Then I'm going to kind of like look at the nail from both sides and just try my best to make sure they match up. So how far down the ruby red is coming, I'm trying to match that up on both sides. A lot of the time when I'm doing the French, I will come backwards and forwards and adjust little bits just to make sure it's all looking symmetrical and all looking appealing to the eye. But once I have got this rough shape for the French down, I do come in and fill the tip in, because then I feel as though you can see what the overall finished look is going to look like. So I'm taking my bottle brush and just colouring in that tip, making sure to get right around the edges. And this is where I felt as though my lines weren't completely symmetrical. So I'm coming back in with that stripe liner brush and just neatening them up and making sure that they do look as though they match. And then I did feel as though I wanted to bring the very edge of the nail down, or sorry, the tip down slightly. So that's what I'm doing here. And I do love a French where it is quite deep like this, but if you didn't want to go for this look, if you wanted more of a natural look, then you could just bring your red down slightly further. Now I'm going to seal in this nail using the no wipe rubber top coat because we're going to be applying some of the beautiful new Kiki London crystals. So here I have the just ruby ones. Of course I had to use the red ones to tie the set in, but just look how beautiful they are. So I'm going to come in and apply my layer of no wipe rubber top coat. This is going to seal in all of the gel polish we've applied, but it's also going to be what we're setting our crystals down into. So I'm not going to cure this until I've placed my crystals in place. Just applying a nice even layer of this, and then I'm going to start off doing a little cuticle cluster down just on one side. So I'm coming in with one of the larger crystals. I have mixed all my crystals together in the pot, so when you purchase these they come with the sizes all separated, so you can keep them all separated if you prefer, but I do prefer to mix them together. So I've taken one of the larger crystals to begin with and then popped 2 gold caviar beads at the side, and then I've gone for the size smaller for the next crystal, and I'm going to pop them on each side of that larger crystal we've got in the center. Whenever I'm doing any kind of crystal placement like this, I always like to start at the center and work my way out, and the same with the sizes. I always seem to like to start with my largest size first of all and then apply my smaller ones. I just find it a little bit easier. So after I've applied each of those crystals, I'm going to pop 2 caviar beads at the sides. Now this step's completely optional. I added the caviar beads in because I felt as though a lot of the nails had red and gold in them, and then this one would have just been all red. So I wanted to add that little hint of gold just so the whole set flowed. So we're now coming in again with 2 more caviar beads, and then we're going to go for a size smaller crystal. So from the edge it's going to start off, from the center it's going to be the largest, and then it's slowly going to get smaller. Now you could continue this design and go a little bit smaller and with your crystal, so you could apply your next crystal even smaller and go around the edge of the nail, but I decided to build up from the center and go more on to the nail bed, which you will see as we get to it. I did think at this point this looked quite a simple, nice, pretty crystal placement, so you could just leave it like this if you wanted. Now because I want to move more into that center part of the nail, what I'm going to do is find a crystal that we can use in the center. Again, I like to have the larger one in the center. I'm just using my wax end of the crystal picker up to pick up the crystal that I want. I kind of rummage around, find the sizes that I need, pick them up using the waxy end, and then you're able to move them into place a little bit better using your dotting tool end. You want to be really careful when you are moving them around because you don't want to move around your previous crystals that you've placed down. Then I'm going to pop 2 more caviar beads on and then go for a smaller crystal just to finish off right at the edge. So again, from whatever way you're looking at this crystal placement, you've got your larger crystals in the center, and then we go into the smaller ones around the edges. And I just felt as though it looked really, really pretty, but it was really, really simple to do. So I cured that for 60 seconds, which then set those crystals in place. And this, guys, is the finished result of all of those designs. I loved how well all 4 worked together. I definitely would wear these myself, but do let me know in the comments below what you think of this set. I really can't wait to share some more Valentine's nail art designs with you, so if you have any ideas, pop them in the comments below. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up as it really helps the channel. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do hit that subscription button. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.